What is up, geeks and geekettes? It's another episode of the Countdown to the Geekcast. My name is Steady, and with me on this episode is the man, the myth, the legend. You know him as JC.
Hey, everybody.
And the man behind the magic, the one and only Joe Garcia. What's going on, Joe?
Hey, what's up? It's going to be a busy day. I'm telling you guys. This is my third podcast of the day. I've been awake most of the night. I've been covering Spurs, been covering the NBA, the ongoings of what's happening. So right now, I think I'm on my second or third Red Bull. So I'm feeling good.
I think this is actually my third of the day, too. I had 2 meetings at work today, 2 conference calls, so I guess those count. So, yeah, this is my third of the day.
See, now you're making me feel bad because one of those was mine, so I apologize for making it work so hard today.
That was the hardest one to get through, too.
Probably was.
Red Bull does give you wings, Ted. It does give you wings.
Gentlemen, we got tons of things to talk about today, so I don't want to take up too much time on the intro. We are going to be talking about some news and announcements about sequels that nobody saw coming regarding one John Constantine. We're also going to be talking about the epic Chapter 11 of The Mandalorian. Can't wait to get into that. We also got Geeky Weekly Updates. I got a slew of things to throw out to you guys. But first, I promised these 2 gentlemen the day would come. And the day surely has. And I can now finally say I have seen the entire Season 1 of his Dark Materials.
I am so proud of you. I am so proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I can't believe this day has come.
All right. What are your questions? Because I'm sure you got a lot. Because I've mentioned it before. This is my favorite book series, and this has been done, at least in my opinion, the correct way so far. And of the 3 people here, I've actually seen the first episode of season 2. It just came out probably about 2.5 hours ago on HBO. And so far so good. So
turn the music down. I can barely hear you.
Okay, my bad.
It's all good. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is my favorite book series. But what are your questions? Go for it. So.
And I don't want to disappoint you in any sort of way. I know you and I.
I know you feel so far, but
you and I had a quick face-to-face about the first season. And Joe, I'm gonna apologize to you in advance, and to anyone else, do not hate me after what I'm about to say, but I just don't. I'm not engaged. I'm not. I'm not interested. I'm
JC
trying to figure out I'm trying to figure out when
it's fantasy sci-fi.
Spoiler alert, by the way, for anybody who hasn't seen it. It's your own fault. It's my own fault for having taken so long to see it.
Yeah.
But when the season started and kids were being kidnapped, I'm like, ooh, this is interesting. I'm into this kind of thing. Mystery, a shadow organization.
Jobless. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm like, this is interesting stuff. And it's like you said, it's fantasy. It's almost like whimsical at times. There's like magic involved if you kind of think about some things like that. So I'm like, all right. So this is all interesting stuff. And then between episodes like 1 and 5, I don't think anything interesting happens at all. I think people are walking from one place to another, or they're hiding. It's a lot of dialogue between characters, which is good in most cases, but I'm just not engaged. I'm not following these characters. I really don't have like somebody I'm rooting for until Lin-Manuel Miranda's character came around. I'm like, oh, okay, this guy's interesting. Yeah, Lee.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm with him. It gets exciting in the last 2 or 3 episodes, but the entire time I'm trying to figure out, is this plot even big enough to kind of build a movie or a novel around? The whole time I'm just feeling like there should be something bigger happening in order to have this major story and have all these people and these characters around it. So I think it's good. I don't think it's compelling. JC says season 2 or the second book, it's really going to kick into high gear. So I am eager to see what happens next.
You said it. You said it right there. Is something bigger, compelling for this to be it. Season 2 is where that picks up. And having seen the first episode of it, it's the first time there's been a live action rendering of the second book called The Subtle Knife. And it's Joe, if you've read the books, I don't know if you have or not. Have you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect. I mean, as creepy as that opening scene is in the second book in the city, it's perfect. It's exactly what you expect the way. And honestly, I'm watching it. It's exactly the way I read it. It's what I visualized.
Nice.
So yeah, it's exactly what I visualized. The teaser for the rest of the season, I think if you watch at least the teaser season 2, that's going to draw you in. But yeah, it's definitely good. As far as how the first season goes, that's kind of how the book is. There's a lot of setting up what the whole plot of this is about. It's this organization, the Magisterium, kind of a metaphor for the church, is covering everything. It's trying to control thought. It's any idea that there's another world out there is heresy. It's against God's teaching, their teaching. That's the sort of thing. So
yeah,
and that's how they punish it. Yeah. So it's that whole religion controlled government at a higher level, and how do you rebel against that?
So we briefly saw the main head honcho of the, what do they call him, the magistrate?
Magisterium. Yeah.
Okay, we saw the head guy like every now and then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if to me, if you want to like really paint these guys as the worst of the worst, or these are the antagonists of our story, I kind of want to see the head guy more. I need to know he's pulling the strings, he's making things go. But just so often we're working with other characters most of the time.
It's more like he's pulling strings, but he's getting other people to do his dirty work so it doesn't look bad on him. Then again, Mrs. Coulter is one evil bitch. I mean, the book is bad. Nicole Kidman's rendition in the movie, the original movie, was really good. This woman is just so much worse. I mean, you hate her in the book and you just hate her in the show. It's perfect how she is. I thought Nicole Kidman was good, but this woman was just like, wow.
Yeah, so, she took it to another level.
She really did. You know, as far as like being a book guy, how the characters played out, Lyra's great. Daphne was awesome. I like her as Lyra. I'm not sure she's better than Dakota Blue Richards. I really did like the way Dakota Blue Richards did it in the movie. The movie, everyone gets a lot of crap because they changed some events of the book. A lot of it was the studio getting involved. But when I visualize Lyra, I see a lot of Dakota Blue Richards and how she portrayed it more than Daphne. But I forget Daphne's last name. It's Daphne Keene, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
King.
Yeah. So
sure.
And she's from Logan. She was in Logan. So
yeah.
But yeah, how she plays out the rest of the story is going to be interesting to me. But she's a great Lyra. So
there you go.
Yeah, I dug it, man. I dug the first season. I thought it was very well done. It was a true rendition of the book itself. And it is a slow buildup, something that you have to invest in. But you know, once you've invested in there and you get to see really what was going on with the book and a true faithful adaptation of that, you know, in a series, you appreciate that. Because it's something, it's not for everybody, you know, but if you're really into sci-fi fantasy, you're going to really like this series, which I appreciated and I loved it. I think they did a really good job in capturing the essence of his dark materials. And I'm looking forward to watching that first episode of season 2. So that's going to be exciting. And we do have a guest joining us right now. We have Veronique Medrano. Hey, Veronique, what's up?
Hey, I'm doing great as usual, trying to figure out technology, and technology fails me every time. Every time I'm like, I understand technology. No, don't.
Well, we're glad to have you aboard here to join us, you know, for this episode of the Countdown City Geekcast, where we talk about all things geek and we get to geek out. We have a guest with us who loves to geek out as well.
Yes. Hi,
Welcome, welcome.
everybody. Hi, my name is Veronique Medrano. I am a Tejano and regional Mexican singer and a overall geeky content creator. I do video games and a bunch of other different things. I don't like to say one thing because then we can sit here for like 20 minutes trying to go through the list of things that I enjoy and do. So thank you guys so much for having me, even despite the technical issues that we have. Thank you.
It's all good.
No. Thank you, thank you. And you joined in at the right time. We were just finishing up our discussion on His Dark Materials. We've had this running gag where these two guys have been peer pressuring me into watching season 1, so I just finished it. Season 2 starts.
I mean, I don't know if it was peer pressure. It's more death threats because you took so damn long to watch it. But
I'm gonna tell you right now. Now I'm the last person out. Because I haven't watched season 1, so it's like.
Don't worry about it. Don't even worry about it.
I'll wrap this up by saying, when you watch this, remember that this book series, when it was written in the mid '90s, was very controversial for its time.
Ooh, all right.
So, yeah. Have you read the books, Veronique?
Yeah, I do. I and that's kind of like the thing. Like, I haven't watched the show, but I've read the books, and it's been a bit because, of course, I'm a 91, and when I read them, it was around the early 2000s because they were coming out with the film. And so I went, and I'm the type of person that more often than not, I will read the book before I watch the movie, just to kind of get a good idea as to what I'm walking into for a movie.
Ooh, yeah.
And so when it came to Golden Compass, yes, I was that kid that, read it before I went to see it. And yeah, it was a big deal back then. So I can imagine now, like, the fact that I feel like the studios don't have as much of a say, like, as they did back then. Like, back then they were really trying to water down the storyline and not really give you the meat and potatoes that was the author's true intent. And now that we have, shows like Game of Thrones that, are allowed to, we're not going to talk about the last season, but, that where they can, really delve into the content and actually be as accurate as reasonably possible. Not super, like, sometimes you're not super accurate, but enough to where you can get a good sense of the universe. I think we're gonna see more books adapted into shows that take this approach, that will finally really give fans of the original literary material what they want, which is to see this come to life. I'm interested to see how they do this with Percy Jackson. That's the other one that came out around this time, around the time of Golden Compass. That was another one of those films that a lot of people had words to say about how it was represented.
The first film, yes. The second film was actually really good. The problem is everyone was so soured on the first film, they didn't want to see the second one. But the second one was actually very faithful to the book.
But I feel like that I mean, if we're going to talk about, His Dark Materials and this series faced that same issue, is that the first film soured everyone from ever even investing in a sequel. Because I know for a few years, I mean, you guys are obviously fans of it. For a few years, there was, after the film came out, for a few years, there was rumors about a sequel that were just dead in the water at a certain point. And then, of course, now we get the HBO show, so now it doesn't even matter. But I remember those pieces of discourse where it was like, are we getting another sequel? Are we not? And then with Percy Jackson doing so bad, I just think it was just like, nah, we're gonna leave it alone.
Yeah, well, with the film, they actually did film an original ending that ended the way the book ended, and they had it filmed that way. And then again, like you said, the studio got involved, changed it. It didn't do so well. Fans hated it for good reason. But I think if you're a fan of the books, you're going to love the series. Philip Pullman, the author, is heavily involved with it. It's not just HBO making it, it's also BBC. So he's a UK author. There's a big following over there in the UK. So they got this right. Season 1 was definitely great. Few minor changes, but those you can live with. And then like, for example, who reveals to Lyra who her parents are, that changed, the minor changes there. And then they haven't seen the first episode of season 2. I have, and it's exactly as creepy as that opening scene of the subtle knife is. So
Ooh,
yeah,
all right.
I
really,
like to see
yeah,
it.
exactly. She knows what I'm talking about. So yeah, it's really really good. So
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't wait to see that. I'm really excited about seeing episode 1 of season 2 because I want to see how they were able to capture that,
yeah,
that opening scene and put it like you said. This is the first time that it's been shown as a live action sequence, so it's hard to do that, justice, especially something like this that's so beloved. So they all the directors and the producers and everybody who works on this series, they have a hard task in front of them. So you have to look at it from a perspective of everybody's working on this to try to deliver the best possible product possible that they can to kind of appease the fan base. So
yeah,
just from what JC was saying, it makes me that much more excited to check this out.
yeah.
Let's give credit where credit is due. HBO is taking every risk, any chance they get when they're adapting novels like this, or the wife and I are watching The Undoing right now, which she's
Oh, okay.
absolutely in love with,
Mhm.
which is another novel turned series, or when you take something like Watchmen, where you had source material, but you're allowing a writer and a director like Damon Lindelof
Yeah,
to try and stretch out that story, decades into the future, and see where the characters and what the universe looks like at that point in time. So give
yeah,
kudos to HBO for taking all these risks and allowing these writers, producers, and directors the freedom that they deserve.
Well, I
yes,
think
sir.
it definitely we have to even go as far back as saying that the success of Westworld and Game of Thrones with the
Exactly. Yeah.
source material
Mhm.
really laid the foundation for what we're seeing now from HBO. But let's not give them too much credit because they have tried to sneak out some really whack stuff.
Ooh.
Um, I mean, look, they're trying to save the Game of Thrones franchise by giving us a prequel that yes was based off of, a side story, a novella that, or not even a side story. I even take it back. It was based off of a blurb that George R. R. Martin wrote in a history book of the Game of Thrones, history guide. So let's just be real here. They're trying to make up for that really awful last season, and we just have to we kind of have to be able to still say, hey, you know what, you guys are doing great, but
Mhm.
please stop giving us crap. Please
Don't do
stop
too
giving us.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't get too crazy here. Come on.
Wait, Ted, you guys know Mike. He was on the Geekcast once. He's on the WrestleCast with me.
Yeah.
When I was posted the original trailer for season 1 of this, and he said, "Well, just make sure all the source material is written so you don't get a bad last season like Game of Thrones." And I said, "Well, this was written in the '90s. We're good." Now, granted, Pullman's gone back and he did write a prequel to the trilogy. He's writing another trilogy. The first book is a prequel to how Lyra got to where she is, and then a sequel to what happens afterward. I've actually read the prequel and it's really really good. So,
But I mean, he's
I,
still.
yeah.
I mean, the main aspect of this is at least the source material is
Oh
is
yeah.
coming from a place where it's done. We're not
Yes.
having to guess as to where it's going to end. The fact that we still don't truly know the ending for Game of Thrones, I think, is something that is going to piss fans off until the books finally come out and we can just kind of. It's almost like a bad ex. We really can't have like closure because it's not over, and that's so bad. That is
I
so bad.
Yeah.
Is it? Is it? I
It is.
think it's.
Oh,
I think
oh,
it's better. I think it's better.
what's
Fans,
wrong with you?
fans, fans have had TV shows end badly with no promise of anything
Look,
in the future.
look,
We are
it's
at
okay.
least promised like an actual good ending in the books. Crossing
That's no,
fingers, it's a
no, no, no,
good
no.
ending.
Yeah.
I think
George R. R.
that's a
Martin here.
positive.
Oh,
I
this is
think that's
George
a
R. R. Martin
positive.
we're talking about. There is no way we're getting a good ending that we want. What's funny is that
It's gonna
it,
be better than what we saw.
I will
It
agree
has to
there, but
be.
that's because they use. I mean, that's because of his writing. Let's just be real on that. It's because of his writing that we're going to get a better ending because that's the reason why. That's the reason why I see that there is a Baby Yoda somewhere in your space.
Baby Yoda just ran by and he's going to bed right now.
But yeah,
She's
so
the star of the show, actually.
Yeah,
I
she
know,
is.
right? But yeah, long story less long. I'm sure his Dark Materials is just gonna. I mean, the reason why it's doing so well. I was kind of concerned about it first season because I'm the type of person that will watch a show once it gets into season 2 because that means that it's no longer in that Firefly state where we may just get one season and that's it.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of why I personally have held off on watching
Hey,
it.
I
'Cause I'm
love
like,
me
"But-
some Firefly.
Yeah.
yes, but the chaos in my heart of where else could they have gone?
True enough.
Yeah.
I still have the whole series on DVD, and I love watching it. You know, when I get some
So
time.
the one season is what you're
Yeah, the
saying.
one season. The one season.
No, what you're saying. It's like I have the whole series, so one season.
And we do have the movie as well.
Oh.
Ah.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
She's not as excited. So
Oh.
definitely check out the first season of his Dark Materials. I think we'll have you, JC, and Joe do like maybe a full review of the first season, and then we can all definitely talk about it. Season 2, as soon as you get caught up. It's a quick binge. It's only 8 episodes, so
Yeah.
you could get through it in a couple of days, no problem.
And I think season 2 is only 7 because
Wow.
they did film it all before the pandemic hit, the main story.
That's
And
right.
they were going to film one more episode following what Azrael's doing during the events of the Subtle Knife because they don't cover that in the book. They kind of briefly mentioned it in Ember Spyglass. What was he going to do? Unfortunately, the pandemic hit and they weren't able to film that, they said. So we're really going to get straight Subtle Knife. Not a lot of Azrael in this second season. So still.
Probably beginning of the third.
Yeah.
That could, and that might make a little more sense now. Like beginning
Yeah.
of have a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
There you go.
So-
Let's get into some other geeky topics. It was announced just the other day on Peter Stormare's Instagram account and shocked the world. He revealed that a sequel to Constantine that featured Keanu Reeves back in like 2005, I think.
I don't remember.
A
what year, yeah.
sequel is in the works.
Thank
And
God.
Fans are
Thank
going
God.
crazy.
Thank
yeah.
God. Thank God.
My wife was so happy too. I've seen it, but she loves that movie. She loves
I'm
I love
so
Constantine.
surprised. Yeah, I didn't know there was this many fans for it.
it.
Really?
It's really
Um,
good. It's
Really?
really good.
I mean, okay, I'm really curious as to why you think that there wasn't a lot of fandom for Constantine.
Not
Keanu
a lot
Reeves-
of. You know why? Not a. It's one of those really darker comic book films. A lot of people probably saw it, not even knowing it was a comic book film. The main character.
Not even gonna lie, I was one of those people.
There you go. So the main character isn't even like a really good adaptation of like the blonde-haired British guy we're supposed to be having.
Keanu
So
Reeves. Let me make it clear.
he
It
is cool.
Keanu.
Keanu's awesome. Gavin Rosdale was in it. Peter Stormare was in it.
Rachel Weisz.
Yeah, Rachel Weisz, ton of great actors. I guess it was just
Shia
If
LaBeouf,
you-
all random.
Yeah.
ooh,
That's
Tilda
true.
Swinton. That was so many great characters. I guess I just felt like there wasn't anything really interesting for like the mass audience to grab onto. If you actually talk to me about what was my favorite aspect of the first film, it was that heaven and hell exist not in any other sort of parallel universe or other state, but they exist now in our own time, within time, outside of time is a better way to say it. And so I found those little elements super interesting.
I would
And the
even
way
go. I would even go so far as to say it really is the first time that we kind of get introduced to this idea of the upside down. If
Yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna talk about Stranger Things and where they potentially got their inspiration for that particular modality of another world that looks like your own but is an opposite of it, let's give Constantine that credit because that film really drove that particular aspect
Oh yeah.
of a world that is exactly like your own but on the flip.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that hellscape was really that for me. And I think a lot of thematics from that film ended up being used in some of the things that I think right now are really popular in
There
a
you
lot
go.
of different TV shows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because even the demons that they had in that alternate universe are very reminiscent of the Demogorgon. You know, it's kind of a
Like,
half twisted human looking entity, you know?
Oh
mhm.
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I love it. The cinematography is great.
Oh, it's
Acting was great.
gorgeous.
Story
Mhm.
is great.
It's a hidden
Um,
gem, really. It really is, you know.
For me, it's
So
like
so
the
I'm
Mummy. For me, that's the level that movie has gotten over the years since it came out. It's become to the level of the Mummy,
mhm.
where when you see it on TV, you'll stop and watch it. The more you watch it, the more little things you start seeing peek out at you, like little Easter eggs that maybe you didn't notice on the first time or the second time or the third time.
oh yeah.
And I feel like it's one of those cult classic films that aged like fine wine, and that's really hard to say about a film that was so heavy on graphics, on the special effects that were done computer wise, because you and I and all of us know whenever you watch films that were made in the 90s and early 2000s, some of those special effects do not age well.
Oh yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, you know, this is a little known fact too that this was
Yeah.
a reunion, so to speak, with Keanu Reeves and Rachel Weisz because they did a movie back when that actually had Rachel Weisz in it. It had Keanu Reeves and Morgan Freeman in it as well. I forgot the name of the actual movie, but it had to do with cold fusion. You know, where they're trying to develop this technology of cold fusion, and a big explosion ensues, and it looks like they set up Keanu Reeves as the scapegoat and Rachel Weisz as the scientist who actually caused this big explosion to occur, and then they start going after them, and they're kind of on the run, much like The Fugitive. It's a really good movie. I got to figure out what the name of that movie was because I still like watching it when I see it come out on TV.
But
Right.
yeah, when he mentions the fact that he was surprised that so many people 'cause not even gonna lie to you, I saw his screen freeze and I freaked because I thought, man, he's really not blinking. He
No.
must really not like what I just said.
Oh, I like her. She's trolling Ted now, so
Yeah.
it's even
Well,
better.
I was like, man, he's not blinking. And then it's like, oh, his internet went out, and I'm like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Like I'm like,
They're never gonna let me back on the show again. Yeah.
Welcome to our hell, Veronique.
There we go.
oh my God, that was so funny.
Ted,
Yeah,
she thought
Ted.
you were pissed. She thought you were pissed off at her, and then she's like, with a stone face, bro.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was like stone face, and I'm like, yo, blink, blink,
That
blink.
was
Yeah. Now I know the name of the film. It's called Chain Reaction. It came out in
Chain
1996.
Reaction.
Good film.
Perfect.
I love that film.
I need
So,
a
yeah.
second word.
So like Ted, when you say that you're surprised about that following, that there's so many people, I have to say that was probably, I know a lot of people argued and still argue the case that they liked Constantine from the comics and Constantine from the animated films and like kind of series. Well, I'm just gonna say films because they're kind of like all in the same universe and kind of a trip. But DC just does an amazing job with animated films and features. They just do. They really do. I wish they would. I'm hoping that the way they're currently taking everything, given FanFest, the way they explain everything is like they're no longer going to be explaining to new fans what these
Yeah.
characters are. They're just gonna give it to us. And I think that was like the thing that people liked at the end of the day about Constantine was that it wasn't explaining him. He just existed. And that's why a lot of people were like, well, we don't even know he's a comic book film. Like, we don't even know this. Well, it's not for you then. This movie is not for the person who doesn't know that he's a comic book character. It's
Yeah.
for the people who know. And on top of that, I think Keanu Reeves did just such a great job. I know he's not British. I know he didn't do the accent, but there was just something about his adaptation that was so uniquely his that when they brought up the subject, and I think they even had him in the live action the live action series. I'm trying to remember, it's the Other Worlds or something like that. The DC on CW. I'm trying to remember the name of the show.
Well, he was on.
Crisis on Infinite Earths, but yeah.
He was part of the group. What's it called? The Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes. And so, but if you notice, he's on there, but people aren't really like, oh, Constantine, because it's just Keanu Reeves did such a good job being his own version of that it's a big deal to have him come back as that character.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just made that character his own.
Oh,
And
for
he just
sure.
owned it, and just the certain like style that he put on that character, that spin, that swag is what I call it.
Oh,
That's what made you love that character, especially knowing if you are a fan of the graphic novels and the comics, he doesn't have the British accent, but you just love the swag that is Keanu
Yes.
Reeves up on the screen playing Constantine. He's a freaking badass. That's what you loved about it. I know I did.
Because it's definitely not Neo. It's definitely
Yeah.
not what's the name of that film that he's doing? I don't know why I'm forgetting it, but
Bill and Ted.
John Wick.
John
John
Wick.
Wick,
Thank
yeah.
you. It's not John Wick, and it's not Bill and Ted, and it's not any of these. See, that's where it could have gone bad. I'm not even gonna lie. That's where it could have gone bad. Is they could have made him into like this really Neo-esque type of person, or
Yeah.
this really John Wick type of person. John Wick's hadn't come out at the time, but they could have twisted it to that, but they really leaned heavy on having him be a smart ass, having him take on the attributes, in my opinion, of Constantine, the attitude of Constantine, without the accent and with being a little bit more Cockney in an American way. And I
There you
think
go.
that's really what was endearing. And I mean, come on, Rachel Weisz, the chemistry from every single person on the cast was just perfection. And I think that really is why it still to this day is one of those classic films in that time period. Because we also
Oh,
have
yeah.
to remember during that time, there was a lot of movies that were coming out comic book wise that weren't introducing the comic book character, that weren't really telling you who the heck they were. I think soon after Constantine or around that time was what Batman Begins. Then we had,
V for Vendetta was around then too. People didn't
Oh,
realize that was a
yeah.
comic. Yeah.
Vendetta,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, if you think about the time period in which Constantine came out, I mean, it and V for Vendetta. I mean,
Mhm.
now that they're comic book movies, and now you don't say shit about them. You just go, yeah, we're good. We like this.
Mhm.
And I think that's kind of developed over time, because now we're getting into this age where it's like, I think the thing I love and hate about Marvel's cinematic universe for like the first two parts of the cinematic universe that they were on, and now they're going into the third or fourth phase. I don't even know what phase they're on anymore.
Yeah, it's phase 4 now.
Phase 4
Oh,
now,
phase
yeah.
4. Well, the first, I mean, let's all acknowledge the first two phases were pretty bad. Like, I mean, at least in my opinion, because no, and I say this
Okay,
because
now
there
Ted's legit pissed off. He's gonna stone face.
well, because you have to think like it's, and the reason I say it was bad for the market because it created this idea that we had to introduce these characters, that they couldn't just live in their world, and comic book fans watch and cringe because of the fact that it's like you're rehashing. Okay, Batman. How many times have we had Batman and his parents dying in a damn film? Like the fans are tired. How
There you
many
go.
times? How many times do you have Iron Man dealing with his alcoholism? Like, I don't know. Like the
Yeah.
whole damn movie
mean-
series. Like how many times do you? Oh, the Hulk. That was the other one that was had a lot of contention around it when they never gave him his own movie after
well-
that really bad first one.
Well, here's the thing. With Incredible Hulk, what they did right is they didn't rehash how he got his powers. We know.
Yeah.
They covered in the opening credits. Why they haven't given him his own movie, I would say, is because of the rights with Universal. Universal owns the rights to an individual Hulk movie, but the only reason they were able to get him in Ragnarok is because it was a Thor movie. So
Yeah.
Disney had the rights to produce that and have the Hulk character.
Yeah.
So if he's being put in mixed in with a Thor movie, Avengers, they can use Hulk.
But
Yeah.
what we could have had with that, I mean, everyone talked about it a lot, about how they really mashed up two different, the Hulk story
Oh god.
And-
Yeah.
and a Thor story, and went, nah.
But I really like Thor Ragnarok.
But
I thought
Ragnarok
that
was probably one of the
No,
best
I love-
Thor films.
It's
so,
fun.
comedy
It
was
was
amazing.
the
in that.
best Thor film, but can you imagine if they had just taken Thor out and given us the Hulk storyline that was based off of?
Planet
Hulk would be amazing.
Yeah, but just imagine that, the level that would have given for Hulk fans, the depth, the story, why these things happen, and also that, I mean, the biggest deal about Planet Hulk in my opinion, in that storyline, that arc, was the fact that he finally came to terms with the Hulk. You know,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Banner.
Yeah.
Hulk and Banner in that arc came to terms with each other. And I mean, that was the real big premise. And of course, him having a family and a bunch of other things that were just really important to that storyline and the characterization of Hulk. They kind of stripped that away, and then they had Natasha into him. That was kind of, it went off on its own rails. It did. But I mean,
The sun's getting real low.
but I mean,
Hey,
it
big
is what
guy.
it is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that back to Constantine a little bit. I'm excited that everyone is excited about it. I'm glad to see that a lot of our followers on social media are excited about it. If you ask me what I absolutely need to see in a sequel,
Anna.
it's definitely. And then I also need to see more magic. I need to see more of Constantine's abilities. Seeing what Matt Ryan has done on his own series in Constantine, and then how he went over first did animated Constantine, and then got on Legends of Tomorrow, and has been one of my favorite characters on that show. Seeing how intelligent, how savvy, how knowledgeable that character is, I didn't get all that from the first film. Granted, it's only one film. Matt Ryan's had 60, 70, 80 episodes already being that character. So, you want to do a sequel? I'm all for it. Just raise the bar. Show us more of what this character can do. Show us more of how powerful he really is. Because Matt Ryan in Constantine shows you how powerful he can be, how much of a force he can be on that show throughout these different series. So I want to see the full potential of movie Constantine and what they can do with it. I'm all for it. Just
Do you
raise
think
the
they're
bar.
gonna have him smoke or they're gonna have him chew gum?
He should smoke.
I mean,
That's the character I'm accustomed to.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I found it really hilarious.
E-cigarettes,
End of it.
e-cigarettes.
Oh, that
No.
would be interesting. I mean, technically, with the times, if we're going with that, yeah, that would be hilarious. But
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I could take him
it's
seriously if he's vaping. I'm just throwing it out there. You know, so.
like looking
There you
back on
go.
the-
Yeah. I vape. I vape.
Yeah, but I think I know what you're going with this, Ted. You want to see more of the mysticism. You want to see more of
Yes.
that metaphysics aspect of things, because they deal with the occult and all that. And I think that's what struck a chord with a lot of fans, because people who seem to like Constantine also love the horror genre as well, which if you watch the movie, the first thing that they put, in the movie is that exorcism,
Oh, that was gorgeous.
and
Oh,
that
yeah.
grabbed you.
That's
That
gorgeous.
grabbed you, and it got your attention because you're like, oh shit, look at this, look at what's going on right now. And that was interesting, so I like that aspect of things. And I think what happened back then is maybe people just weren't ready for that, but now things have changed so much that people crave this kind of content, and if
Oh,
you give
yeah.
it to them, they're going to come out and watch it. They're going to love it.
I mean,
We
you have Doctor Strange, which is very mysticism, occult type of vibe, and I'm thinking back to what was playing at the time, and I'm actually trying to look up the year that Constantine was released, because I swear that around that time, like, there's the Exorcism of Emily. There's there was a lot of exorcism movies. I don't know why I recall that like so clearly right now. What year was that released?
2005 was when that movie came out.
Oh yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so like if you look at let me see releases in 2005. How much do I want to bet that and I'm not even kidding. I remember clear as day that around the 2000s there was a lot of exorcism movies, a lot at the time.
It was
And
probably a big thing, yeah, around that time.
I remember the Exorcism of Emily or Emily Rose or
Emily
something.
Rose, yeah.
Emily
Jennifer's
Rose.
Body was also one as well.
Yeah. And then you have, there was a lot of exorcism movies, a lot of like feminine, like female, like led exorcisms, things kind of that nature. So when you think of, I mean, you just have to constantly go back to a film like that and go, okay, why didn't they release or why didn't they do XYZ? And I always think of, okay, well, what was showing at the time and what were producers potentially willing to sign off on creative wise, in the sense of putting a first film out.
Yeah.
And now that we're getting a second film, I mean, I definitely think that we're going to get more occult. We're going to get more mysticism because they've already tested the, I would say that I say this wrong because I'm in music, but I was going to say label, but the production, the production company is now more confident to release mysticism, mystical type of things, because now we have so much source material that deals in that. So you have to think of what's already being released in popular and then go, okay, they're going to let them play around. I always think of, I think of this, and I hope that they give us something similar. Oh my God, what is the name of the show? It just finished. It was on AMC. It was with Seth Green. Seth Green was one of the producers on the show. Why am I forgetting it? It was about
I have no idea.
Oh my God, why am I losing this? It was a horror show, very much like Constantine. And if you look at the comic, it's based off of a comic too. Oh my God.
Preacher?
Yes. Oh my God.
Preacher
yes.
was good. Yeah.
But if you think about it and you think about Constantine, I hope they take it in that direction.
Yeah.
I hope they take it that far where, you really start seeing more of the mystical aspects and more of that.
Yeah.
Preacher's done very well.
Before Constantine came out in 2006, the other film that I really loved that dealt with the occult and mysticism was Hellboy. I thought Ron Perlman's rendition of Hellboy was really good.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it.
But once it went past movie one, I mean, that is a good example of why we didn't get a sequel for Constantine. Look at what the studios did to that film franchise.
Oh yeah.
Like, you looked at it and you're like, oh my God, number 2 was great. And then I think, how many movies did we get for that? 2.
We only had the 2.
They
rebooted it.
They were
running
horrible.
Yeah.
And so you look at movie number 2, which I personally think is great. They did a great job with it, but they sank that in the water. And I'm glad that we only got one movie of Constantine because of that. Because I would have really hated that for a sequel of Constantine to come out during that time period and it sink that bad. I mean, it would have sunk the character. They wouldn't have touched it. They wouldn't even be considering a conversation about that. And then
the one thing that I loved so much, Veronique, about that Hellboy 2 was that opening sequence when his father is talking to him and he's opening that book and he's telling him the story about the Golden Army. The animation, and that is one of my top favorites. The way that the story is told, the style that it's drawn in, it's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, but and like I said, if we look at that and we see, it was so well done, but my goodness, the studios really didn't give it the proper. I mean, I think one of the biggest arguments that Guillermo del Toro had, if I'm correct, I'd like everyone to take this with a grain of salt, and I swear I've seen this online, whether it's his Twitter or something else, where he complained about the fact that they released it. Their release date was literally the release date of a Batman movie.
Oh, wow.
That literally, it was the same week as a Batman movie. I think it was a Christopher Nolan. I think it was either the Christopher Nolan Joker one. It was literally that same week or within either a week before or a week after, but it did not, I mean, as a studio, why would you do that?
Destined to fail, yeah.
Especially around Heath Ledger's passing and the hype around that movie because it was his last completed film.
Was it that around that time?
Yeah.
The Dark Knight, if it was around then that was a dumb play on their part because there's no way you're competing with that.
For sure. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember, like I said, if you're listening to this and you go, no, it wasn't around this, but it was around this one. I mean, whether it was number 2 or number 3, it's still not a good choice.
Mm-hmm.
The Nolan Batman films were just that sought after, and that well filled theater wise. So putting 2 comic book movies, especially when you're looking at Hellboy, which yes, it has a kind of minimal following, in my opinion, when it comes to like film wise, and then you put against Batman, which consistently will have sold out theaters. You're setting yourself up to fail.
Yeah. Well, Constantine had incredible cast. It had an even better soundtrack. I absolutely love the soundtrack. And we've yet to hear anything else. We don't even know if Keanu is back. He needs to be,
I mean,
but
come
we
on.
don't know if he's back, and we don't even know who the director is. That's going to depend a whole lot on whether or not I'll have any more confidence in this film. So let's wait and see what happens. Let's hope that more news comes out. I don't even know
Saying
if
it's a
Peter
sequel, right?
is.
Saying it's a sequel to the first film.
That's what Peter is saying. Sequel to the first film. This isn't a blog site. This isn't a website that releases information. This is Lucifer himself who dropped this bomb on everybody. So let's see what
Yeah.
happens. Let's wait
I
for
hope
more
they bring
news.
back Rachel Weisz. I love Rachel Weisz. She's like my
There's-
on-screen crush.
Well, I think there's so much that they could have done with that. And I mean, I didn't. Here's the funny thing about that film, us talking about it, is that I didn't recently realize the actual like surprise ending till about sometime this year.
Ooh, do
Because I
tell.
bought it. Okay, so I always watch this film either on Netflix when it was on Netflix or on TV
Mhm.
or a streaming service.
Yeah.
And it was something that was brought up by Ryan Johnson literally a few days ago, which I'm like, Ryan, shush. But he brought up the fact that he thought it was disrespectful that streaming services cut off credits. And I'm like, dude, the people who watch credits are the people who either worked on the film, are trying to show off that they worked on the film, or something. Like the credits are not for the regular user or the regular film watcher to be like, oh my God, look, so and so person, film camera, like camera lead. Oh my God. I never knew. Like, no, that's not how that works. But I will agree with him in regards to the fact that I was misled about the ending for Constantine for years because of the way that streaming services do their credits. I bought the film and I was watching it. And mind you, I have the film, but I guess it's just, you know how things go. Like at the time, they weren't doing those secret endings at the end of films.
The
Not
post
really.
credits, yeah.
Those
Yeah.
post-credits. And Constantine did. So look at my happy ass, you know, like sitting there working on something and the credits are rolling and I'm not paying attention like a regular person. And next thing you know, the screen goes black and I'm like, okay, I'm going to pop out the DVD. And then there's a scene with Keanu and Shia LaBeouf. And then I'm like,
So good.
am I watching the same damn movie? Like, is this an added bonus? Did I get to the bloopers? And sure enough, I rewinded it, and that was the post credits. And I'm like, oh, so this was supposed to open up the sequel. And in my mind, where Shia LaBeouf's Angel character was in my mind, like if you think about their relationship and everything, that he died, became an angel, and then was, you know, either taking the place of Gabriel or somehow involved in such a way that he would now be either a sidekick to Constantine or be some type of like communicating with Constantine. But and that's where I say, like, yes, a sequel was already set up to happen if it happened.
Funny story. I think I saw Constantine in theaters with Jericho, another Geekcaster, not with us today, and he didn't show up. That sounded like he died. He didn't die. He's not with us today. And
rest in peace.
Him with a woman.
And we actually sat through the credits. I can't remember why. I think I was still in the movie game, the theater game. JC, you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And we had heard there was an end credit scene. The only people doing end credit scenes at this point was Marvel. You know, even Chris Nolan wasn't even doing end credit scenes. So we waited, we watched, and it was actually a really emotional moment seeing Shia LaBeouf's character as an angel and just flying off into heaven. Let's get back to the topics. That was love the discussion on Constantine. Can't wait to see what they're going to bring for the sequel. Hopefully some more news drops soon. We're going to go over some rapid fire, just some general headlines of the week. starting out with, if you're already listening or watching this video, you've probably already seen it. Zack Snyder is releasing a brand new, possibly teaser trailer for his Justice League this week. It's rumored to be in black and white. Not exactly sure why they're going that route. But any new content from the Snyder
Because
Cut,
why not?
I'm all for it. Can't wait to see it as soon as it drops. You better
It's a very
believe
Mad
we're
Max
going to be talking
situation.
about it. Oh, yeah.
I'm a little nervous about this black and white concept because I'm thinking either.
Just a trailer. Just a trailer. Yeah.
Well, this is the second time they've done a black and white thing for Zack Snyder. This is not the first time with this film. And my concern, my concern lately. At first, I was real big on the train, and
Yeah.
now I feel like it potentially could be a whole different movie, and I'm not sure if that's what we signed up for. I mean,
Don't feel that way. Don't feel that way.
I mean, that's just me. I'm allowed to be a little concerned that we potentially may have signed a open check from Warner Brothers to this man to make a whole new movie. And is that really what we wanted? Because most of the film was filmed, and then I think it was just the latter half, if I'm correct, like the last.
It was filmed, but it wasn't finalized. A lot of VFX, a lot of editing still needed to be done, but he had over 4 hours of footage already put together. But you just had to fine tune it, do all the last final touches on it. Yeah.
You're talking about the new stuff he's filming. I think a lot of that is, because as we've noted, this was the second script that he wrote and then they rejected the first. The second is the Snyder Cut. I think there's elements of the first he wants to bring in, because I've said this is going to be like a soft reboot of the whole franchise, and we're going to move on from here. This may in essence retcon the original Justice League. Like, here's where we're going on. Aquaman's going to make more sense. Now let's keep going. That's kind of it from there. Mm-hmm.
And what I'm saying is anything that's new.
I think I was like one of the few people that did.
And what I'm going to say is that I don't think anything that he's filming with the additional photography is part of the main storyline. I think what he's trying to do is attach some threads that will go on from Justice League and lead on to either future films that are coming out, or there have been rumored DC Comics HBO Max series in the air. We've already know stuff like Green Lantern's coming out. Is that going to be something that ties in or leads on from Justice League?
I think
possibly.
They said something about Martian Manhunter was also like a big deal there too.
He is a big deal, and hopefully we get some more stuff from him.
It wasn't a big deal in the film, but this is where I say, how much are we really just writing a check for them to just kind of do something that, it's a 4-hour movie.
Yeah. Well, let's explain.
We're in a
like
pandemic.
This.
I ain't got nothing but time. I'm good.
My
wife and I need something to watch when the kids go to bed. So.
Yeah,
I will agree. I'm not saying no here, but I'm also saying why can't this be a 2-part film?
Yeah. Well, it's going to make more sense. What they're wanting to do is that they're wanting to make the films connect in a better manner, because it feels fragmented, especially with the Justice League movie. It was a hot mess. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Nothing really made any sense. It just felt like it was just splashed together. It was horrible. It was horrible. But now, by them going back and making these edits and giving us Dark Side and all these other things, it's going to make more sense, because they want this film to be the catalyst that kind of gels everything and pulls everything together, because they're going to have these other films come out. They're going to have these series come out on HBO Max. And this film, they need it to make sense, because trying to redo the whole thing is just going to cost way too much money,
It's already let's just be real here, though. What this movie cost to what they are now paying for it now to be redone is 2 times more than what it cost to make it the way it was.
That's why they should have had Snyder from the beginning.
If you look at the budget for the film originally to what it is now, the budget now, it is way more than what it originally was. And this is where I say I'm concerned. I'm not here for, Joker to be in this film. I'm not here for it. I don't feel like it has any, in my personal opinion, I don't feel it has any semblance or reason to exist. I don't like his Joker. I really don't.
Right. I like this even more now.
I
Oh,
don't
no.
I don't like the edit he got. I don't think we saw the true intention of the character.
I mean, but we
And
don't
that's
even
what I
know
think.
that. We don't even know the true aspect of that either.
Hmm.
We don't
We
because
we kind of
because
do. David
uh,
Ayer, the director for Suicide Squad, said he had like 30 minutes of Jared
yeah, but
Leto Joker,
yeah,
and we
but
only
Hashtag
got
release the
like,
Ayers cut. Yeah.
and we
I
only
mean,
we got less than like 10. So
Yeah.
there's
but
more
if
Jared Leto out there somewhere.
well, Jared Leto can stay out there. So I mean, it's just, I mean, come on, dude. Like he was trying to
We're
embody. He was trying
we're
to
assuming too
embody.
much though. We're
Yeah.
assuming that Joker's gonna
Well,
be a
they.
part of like the main plot, and I don't think he's gonna be part of the main plot.
I mean, I don't think
I
he should be
think
part of it.
we'll
Period. We
There
I
don't
you
think
need
go.
it. No,
we'll
there's
see
too
like
much. There's already too much in this film. Why do we need Joker? We don't.
it's not a
We had
film
we
though.
had
It's
two.
no
No, we
longer
had
a film. It's a
so then
limited series now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
change. My point still is that we don't need Joker in this. This storyline is good and weighty on its own. It does not need the influx of Joker in it. I understand that Joker is, the villain for Batman, but for this film, I mean, watching it the first time around, I understand it's not the cut,
Mhm.
and all these things that are being added to it will add more to what this film is.
Yeah.
But to add Joker into it feels just really, it just feels a little too little too late. Like if you're gonna give me that, then you might as well give me the 30 invisible minutes that exist somewhere. If you're
David
re-
Ayer
if-
has it.
no, I'm just saying if they exist in space, then I think that if you're going to add, this is where my logic comes from. If
Yeah.
you are going to let Snyder release a cut with Joker in it, then you might as well you might as well give me the cut that supposedly makes him make sense.
If the Joker is in the main story, I don't think
I don't
he's in
need
the
him in the
main
side
story.
story either. I don't
I
even
don't
need
think
him
he's in the
in the
side
parking
story.
lot. I don't need him.
We need to
like,
wait and we need to
dictate
wait and
it.
see. I think Zack Snyder just wants to put Jared Leto in like an end credit scene.
I still don't need
This
that either.
guy. I
You're
need
not
it.
winning, Ted. You're
I
not
need it.
winning.
No,
I need it.
I mean,
Bring it.
the reason why I say we don't need it is because of what they're trying to do now. Like, if you look at what they gave us during FanFest, and just, my God, I mean, we're getting a whole new Batman movie. We're getting a whole new, we're getting, Black Adam, and we're getting, all these, we're getting some really good storylines and some
Yep.
really good villains and some really fleshed out stuff per each piece of property. I'm going to tell you right now, we don't need Joker. There's enough. There is enough. We have done enough with Joker up until this point. I mean, shoot, they're even like they even retconned him out of the Harley Quinn movie. I mean, look at that alone. That alone for me said where the company stands on Joker, at least for the time being of that iteration, when they literally don't even have him appear on screen for a Harley Quinn movie.
I
Interesting.
can see that. Yeah.
I mean, just look at that. That should have been like okay, if we have all this footage and whatever, they could have injected it into that film. They could have done more with, tying it together. But now they're trying to really step away from Joker. Leave the one with Joaquin Phoenix. Kind of, they're still in talks about doing a second one for that. I get that because it did do really well. It was a pretty, I think, and I'm probably one of the minority here that really believes that was a very good film. There was a lot of layers to it.
A lot of people thought that. Yeah.
I have gotten into arguments with people who did not think that was a good movie, but that is
Oh,
neither
that's
here
weird.
no, but that is neither here nor there.
Mhm.
Everyone has their own opinion. I felt that was a really great film for what it's trying to do and what it like I said, there's movies that lay the foundation for what a company is willing and will do. So when you see, you're telling me about this 30 minutes, and I get it. It's 30 minutes, but there had to have been a reason why it was left on the cutting room floor and why it continues to not be discussed.
No.
The
only reason was
discussed in
Yeah,
any preceding films. You only have a tiny bit of it. I think I don't know if maybe I'm thinking of the same movie, but where they show the suit all messed up and by Joker. But it's almost like they want to talk about him.
BVS, what you're
Yeah,
talking about.
BVS.
Yeah.
Thank you. Where they talk about it, but they don't talk about it, and I'm happy with that. Talk about it, but don't talk about it. Give me Easter egg. Give me a slight conversation about it, kind of like for the comic book people. We know what you're talking about. When I see that suit, I know what that is. I know what that's from. But I don't need Jared Leto. I'm not even playing here. I think he did what he did. He did a unique take on it, but it's not necessarily a good take. I think that we have had better Jokers that have given us layers for that character that I will just chef's kiss, thank them for. But adding Jared Leto to the mix is just chaos. It's chaos without any leash. I mean, even him on set was just nutty. That the reports that came in, the stuff that was happening, that's just too much. That's too much. I mean, that's too much.
The whole cast was wilding out on the set of the Suicide Squad. It wasn't only Jared Leto. They were all getting.
I still blame him.
They were all getting pretty crazy. And
I just don't think she likes his music, but yeah, that's just me. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
No, I think he's a great musician. I even think he's a great actor for some other stuff. It's just I don't know what it was about that Joker that just didn't feel fleshed out.
And you're not alone. You're not alone.
It felt
when
like
you have a Warner Brothers executive come into David Ayer's office and say, David, we're going to take it from here. David Ayer said his movie was taken over. He had no final decisions. He had no control. The executives went in and tore it apart. And so we know why there wasn't a fleshed out Joker character in Suicide Squad. David Ayer has a fleshed out Joker in that movie, but it never saw the light of day. He got overpowered by executives.
Yeah.
And I just don't think we are going to see a fleshed out version. I think that the company itself, now with all the changes.
We also thought we weren't going to see a Snyder cut, and now we're going to get one in hopefully the next 6 months or so.
And this is where I go back to where you're right on the Snyder cut in regards to what it's going to launch. I'm still concerned about it because I feel it's too much. But if we're taking it in, like JC said, this is pandemic. Let's wait. Let's go. Like, let's go watch something let's go watch something for 4 hours.
Oh yeah.
Now we're in the space where that's possible. That's possible. And that is why they're like, you know what? Let's sign you a blank check to get this stuff done and think of the positioning. Think of the positioning of this. The announcement for a Snyder cut was done, I think, 2 to 3 months before they did FanFest and before they announced The Flash, before they announced their I guess phase 1 of the multiverse for DC. Think of the positioning of that. So then, yes, I agree with Ted. I agree with JC that, you know what, this was meticulous because they knew they needed to fix it, and they had somebody who was willing to come back and fix it and footage. And they're like, you know what, we need to invest the money to see the money come back, because we're going to be doing the Batman. We're going to be doing this. Like, they had already announced The Rock. Like, I think it was more meticulous than maybe us as the regular viewer, the regular fan is aware of. And the only reason I think that is because of the timing of that announcement to the timing of FanFest and their announcement of phase 1 for them.
Yeah. The other things that I'm trying to say about, there's going to be threads. Justice League is not just going to be a one and done film, and I'm not going to promise there's going to be a Justice League 2. I'm not going to go that far, but
they're still dealing with the actors and legal.
For sure.
There's
a lot going on behind the scenes.
Racism and stuff like that. Oof,
there's a lot
about that.
There's a lot going on behind the scenes. There's still negotiations of other projects and other films. We know from James Gunn, who has already finished filming the Suicide Squad, the spin-off or sequel, whatever you want to call it, that he was offered a Man of Steel 2 film. He didn't want to take it. He said that's probably better for somebody else to take. But DC was developing a Henry Cavill sequel for Man of Steel. So that's probably another thing. Like, Justice League can have a thread that goes off, and eventually we get a project for a sequel to Man of Steel. I still am hopeful that Ben Affleck will reprise his role, not just in the Flash film, but also in some other iteration. I don't care if it's a series, I'm on fine with that. If it's another film, even better. But I don't think that Joker's being put into this film, or Deathstroke for that matter, because there are
I'd
going to
rather
be
Death.
some major
Give me
integral
Death.
parts to this plot or to the story. They're not. They're going to be the icing on the cake. They're going to be the
Deathstroke
cherry
will
on
be
top.
great.
You're going to get to see Joker and Deathstroke in this really cool,
Slay.
very inventive way, and that's going to be it. Even
Yeah.
if it's just one shot, we're here. Here's the Injustice. Here's the Legion of Doom. Bring it. I'm all for it. DC fans will absolutely
Legion of
love
No
it
Manches.
if you start seeing the seeds being planted for an Injustice League or a Legion of Doom, whatever you want to call it. Go Young Justice, call it the Light. If you start calling a new group, a new villainous group, the Light, Young Justice fans are going to go absolutely nuts
Yeah.
if they decide to pull something off like that. So I think they're just a cherry on top. I don't think it's going to be anything big or major that it's worth getting worked up over.
I'm only getting worked up because I just don't think that there's a reason to have him in there. Unless you're gonna give Jared Leto his own film, which he has been complaining about, and they are ignoring him outright at this point. There's a reason. There's a reason. There's a reason that they have ignored him and just been like, nah, fam. And there's a reason why he even stopped talking about it, because it's just there. It's climbing an uphill battle. Now, Deathstroke, my God, if we finally get that on screen, that would be great. I mean, we got Black Mask, but I still argue that Harley Quinn did Black Mask a great injustice by the ending, because my God, that just felt phoned.
Poor
in.
guy.
Like, I mean,
He got owned.
well, I mean, you have to think about Black Mask in the sense of the DC comic universe. Like, how dare you? Like, if you're gonna talk about a character, a villain that was really done wrong in the DC universe so far, Black Mask was done dirty in that film. And I mean, you just have to call it what it is. I mean, I'm gonna call it what it is. That was dirty, because that character is so integral to so many of the things that happen in Gotham. So just to do that to him at the end of the film was for me like, oh, it was too campy. I guess maybe that's what it was. It was too campy for me. You could have done it to Zaz. I could have lived with Zaz, because Zaz doesn't, like, you know, he does what he does as a villain, but he's not as, you know, you have to think of it like this. Batman villains, you know, the rogue gallery, as they call it, there's a hierarchy. You know, you have the Falcones, you have, you have Penguin, you have Black Mask, you have Deathstroke, and then you have Joker, and you have Bane. So those 6 alone, just naming those off of the bat, are very powerful. Not saying the others aren't, but when you think about it, most of the other ones have to get paired off with a Joker, with
there's more than that. You got Two-Face, you got Clayface,
but I mean,
you got Poison Ivy.
No, I'm not saying that they're not good, but if you notice in the comic and in the writing, more often than not, they're paired off. They don't do something completely on their own. Poison Ivy, we could say, you know, she's either paired off with Clayface, she's paired off with Bane, she's paired off with Harley Quinn. She's never solitary on her own. She literally just hangs out with her damn plants. Just leave her the hell alone.
She's getting it on with Harley Quinn in the animated series, which was hilarious to me. But...
I know.
Oh yeah.
And then you have Kite Man. Like,
yes.
Come on, Kite
Oh
Man.
Man, the Kite Man was the best.
Kite Man is a paired up villain. Like, you have to just call a spade, and when it comes to the he's a kite. He's a man. He's a kite man. But that's where I say, like, I'm not saying that he doesn't have a whole list of rogue gallery. I'm not saying that. It's that, you know, the big baddies, the big main ones, you know who they are, because they alone end up manipulating other characters and other villains to do the dirty work. So you almost have like this Mortal Kombat situation where you have to beat all of them before you get to Liu Kang. And that's kind of where where the
Shao
rogue
Kahn.
gallery.
Shao
Shao Kahn.
Kahn.
I'm so sorry,
Yeah.
Shao Kahn,
That's
and you
strike
deal
one.
with that.
I'm just
There you go.
You know what I said. You know what I meant. So speaking of Batman, how are you guys feeling about the push for 2022 for the Batman?
The supposed
It's
series with
fine.
Affleck.
No,
Yeah,
no, no,
you
no, no.
Oh,
no.
Pattinson.
I like
nothing
it.
surprises me anymore as far as
Yeah.
the date. I'm. Let me see what I have. I think I've said it too on the show. It's Batman without as big a budget. It's not going to be the super rich Batman. He's going to have money, but he's going to be building this like from the ground up. And I'm not going to pass judgment on what he does. Let me just see how it comes out first. And I like what I saw in that little teaser. And now it's just let's see what happens.
It
So,
looks like a darker, grittier Batman. And you know what?
Yes.
Pattinson, I
More
gave
grounded.
him a lot of flack because of what he did in Twilight and the glitter britches, and everybody calls him the glitter man. He's gonna come out and the bat suit's gonna be full of
Glitter
glitter.
man.
the Volturi was the best part of that whole damn show.
Yeah. So
yeah.
everybody knows the actor, but I think he's made some great strides because if you've seen some of his work that he's done, he's
His
showing
indie
that
work.
he's not just one dimensional. He can actually be a really good actor, and I'm
man can
interested to
act.
see
Yeah.
what he does with this Batman because the trailer gave me a lot of promise. I gotta say, and with having it be a smaller budget film, and not have all the bells and whistles necessarily of some bigger production, it makes you focus more on the characters and the story, which
Yes.
is really what sells a movie. If it
Which
doesn't
sells a
have
Batman movie.
Yes, and
Yes.
if it doesn't have a good story, it ain't worth the shit, and I don't want to see it. But this gives me promise. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen with this film.
I think the big deal for me was more so that, Matt Reeves doing what
I don't
he
know if you're just
did.
taking a picture. I'm just like.
No,
posing.
I am.
Oh,
I
yeah,
am.
sweet.
Matt Reeves doing what he did in the, as he's explaining it, that was the tits for me. And the reason why is because I don't think we have ever had a director, maybe Tim Burton, but I don't think outside of Tim Burton, I don't think we've ever had a director that truly understood the meat and potatoes that is Batman and the villains. And to have him talk about the rogue gallery, it's the first time I've ever heard anyone even say that in an interview. For him to be as passionate as he is about the character and the nuance of it. I mean, hey, it could be very well that he's just, speaking my language just to be nice, and he's speaking all our language just to, for press. But I just didn't feel that. It felt truly genuine, and to have it's almost like having a fan make a Batman movie. And that's even before seeing the trailer, that already gave me chills and I'm not even gonna lie to you, I cried. Because you have to think as a fan of the series and the fan of the character, you don't truly get fans talking and making a comic book movie. And that's what I felt in that moment. I felt seen as a fan to have somebody understand the character and the villains. And I'm really curious still where they're going to go with this. Some people have said it's potentially Court of Owls, especially because, now WB is under the mindset that all creative that comes out needs to be in line with everything else, which I'm not saying that's bad. You know what? Like, they kind of were scattered and all over the place. But that kind of put into my mind because now they're doing, the Court of Owls as the video game. And I'm thinking in my mind, like, what exactly are you doing? Some of the lettering in the letter, this little greeting card, people picked out that was the Court of Owls. That's the lettering. That's the alphabet of the Court of Owls. Then, you have this potentiality of it being the Riddler. And, that character has never, okay. Sounds mean.
I'm like, what?
Has never gotten the justice that character deserves. Now, Jim Carrey did a great job as the Riddler for Tim Burton's Batman.
That wasn't
Because
right.
That wasn't Burton though.
Was it?
No,
I thought
that
it
was
was.
the third one. It was Forever.
Not the third
Oh yeah,
one,
that was Batman
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right.
Schumacher?
Sorry.
I don't know. Schumacher.
Yeah, it was
the third one.
Schumacher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it was really campy. So, and that's kind of the thing I'd like to drive home is that it still kept in line with the camp of that particular line. of, oh, we're getting a lot of campy, a lot of, whatever. And so Jim Carrey was a good choice for the time.
Mm-hmm.
For the time. I don't think we could have handled a Robin Williams Riddler. I don't think we could have handled.
Ooh.
I mean,
No,
it would
what
have
could have been, what could have
been.
been.
No. What could have been, truly. But I don't think that's what they wanted to go with. And so they wanted somebody really camp, really just zany. And that's why they went with Jim.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. Had they picked Jim Carrey to be the Riddler in this film, I would have been down. Why? Because he's done a lot more serious roles since that film, and he could have taken it there. He could have given us Robin Williams in that really creepy horror film where he was a guy who developed film and killed
1 Hour
people.
Photo. Yes.
Yes, thank you. He
Great
could have.
movie.
I mean, all I'm saying is Jim Carrey can take us there if they had gotten him for that. But they didn't, which is fine. We don't need him. It's good to bring out like people that you wouldn't expect. Like, the Penguin being I laugh because he looks so different. Oh my God, what's his name?
Colin Farrell.
Yes.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, it could have been what's his face, the guy who was in Bug's Life. I always forget his name.
Bug's Life.
He has that same face as what they have for Penguin.
Oh, I
Heinlein?
know what you're talking about. Yeah, voice actor. I know what you're talking about.
No. He's a comedian. He was on SNL. He was big. Oh my God.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. No. Give me a second.
The one who voiced Heimlich, right?
Yes.
Okay.
No. Wait.
Colin Quinn? Are you thinking about Colin Quinn?
No. Give me 1 second. Richard Kind.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And you all look like little ants. Yeah. I love Heimlich.
Now, if you look at Richard Kind's face and you look at Colin Farrell's face for this movie,
It's pretty close.
I'm just like, yo, you could have just hired Richard Kind. He don't got nothing to do. He's just chilling. Why are you guys leaving him out? Now, I will laugh if Richard Kind is his grandpa or something.
Oh, man. That would be awesome. Yeah.
But
It's exciting.
Those are the things that, it's exciting, but it is a little concerning that, they're pushing it back so far. But, given, I think there's a lot more behind the scenes of that particular production than it's being released to the public. The fact that Robert Pattinson is just kind of pressing against them and fighting back at them for getting in shape. And then suddenly he has COVID and, there's a lot of like blurred lines there as to what we actually know about what's going on with production and what is. And so I think there's a lot of
that stuff is taken out of context, especially that whole line that Robert dropped about being in shape. It taken out of context, every news source and blog site ran with it, made him look really bad, and fans jumped on him. But I think I read the whole thing and it wasn't really what he was trying to say. I think he was just trying to say that he was in shape for what a Bruce Wayne would be very early in his career. Bruce Wayne is not the big bulking force mass of a human that he is, a year and a half or a year into being the Dark Knight. That probably comes a lot later when he's at his prime. But Robert Pattinson was just trying to say, like, I think I'm at a pretty good spot for where I need to be in this line of Bruce's career.
Yeah. So we want to move forward now. So we
that was a
start
quick
talking about
headline.
some
Yeah.
Mandalorian.
Let's talk about the Mandalorian. But before that, I want to make sure I'm going to call
It's
out.
all good.
I'm going to call out that this week is the week that Star Wars Lego Holiday Special is dropping on Disney Plus. It drops on Tuesday. Be sure to check it out. I can't wait to see what everybody's thoughts are on it. I'm all for it. Let's go ahead and talk about The Mandalorian, Chapter 11, finally getting to Trask. I was gladly hoping to get to Trask with the Frog Lady and get this. Let's go ahead and start with the beginning. We land on this docking station. Nice little joke.
We almost
falling
landed.
into the water. I love that the hijinks and the comedy is just sort of like spontaneous. You don't need any funny, zany characters. just pull off these little moments here and there, make it fun, make it entertaining, have the audience going the entire time. Anyone spot the recycled AT-AT that they used to crane and fish
Yes.
the Razor
Yes.
Crest out of the water?
Yes.
That was pretty dope. I really
That
like
was
that. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
you know what? I thought the endearing part, the best moment was when you see the amphibian, the frog lady, reunited with her husband, and they just look so cute because she's just running to him with her
Yeah.
arms open, and they're like hugging.
It-
She looks
slow
like a-
motion.
Give me the
She
slow
literally
motion.
looks
Give
like
me
a
the slow
Muppet.
mo- Yeah.
Yes.
She literally looked like a Muppet in that moment, like literally Kermit the Frog, so happy, like like that.
Yeah, and they even had like their own little squeal or screech or something.
Yeah.
They look
Yeah.
really cute when they're all hugging and
Aw.
everything.
Okay, I said I said I was hoping, not hoping. I said I wouldn't be surprised if we saw somebody like General Akbar
So
on
the
Trask.
species, yes.
Same species.
I wasn't that far off because we did see like every one of his cousins and tias and tios on this little dock. So not
Can you
that
make it
far
fly,
off.
Fida? I'll work on
Los
it for a cake.
cuñados.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not even, man. He's like, I mean, I'll make it fly.
Gotta make it
I was
fly,
like,
homie,
No,
pero-
the
Make it
funny
fly
part
home.
was he goes, "I'll put fuel in it if it'll hold fuel."
Why does it sound like all of our
So good.
so
So
dope.
good.
Went to
Like,
a
they
body
look at
shop on the south
something-
side. Yeah. So I
they,
mean,
like
Yeah.
not even the body shop on the south side. Like literally his face was like, bro, not even my body shop on the south side.
No, but that was like a tire shop over here on the south
Yeah,
side. They do
there you
everything
go.
there.
Like
Oh,
I'll put air
man.
in your tires.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Can somebody help out Mando? If somebody tells you they can help you, but they're cackling while they're doing it, that's probably a red flag. I'm just gonna say that right now. He needs to start knowing when to trust people and when not to trust people.
I mean, I
'cause
don't think he trusted them. I don't think he trusts anybody. But you have to think in the way he's always done things
he's.
he's methodical. He's like, okay,
I
I don't
thought
trust
so.
I don't trust any of y'all. Y'all are on a $1 budget with me on trust, and if you fail me, I'm taking the dollar back.
yeah.
And that's pretty much what happens. And I mean, I will say this episode really did show that too. It was kind of
Yes.
those weird situations where you've seen it where he doesn't really trust people and he's prepared, and he just wasn't this episode, which felt a little off. But I think it's kind of in my opinion, it's because of how he landed and everything that just kind of went along with, that filler episode right before, where it feels like a filler, but I think it's really touching on the fact that they have been on the run for a while and he can only do this for so long. This was the moment where it's like you finally see the wear of being on the run for him, trying to find other Mandalorians, and it literally came to a head. He wasn't thinking clearly. It just wasn't it for him. It was a bad day. And I'm kind of glad that it was led up that way. But I will say the episodes prior, the argument of them feeling like fillers, if you look at it from the perspective of, he's on the run. The last episode that we saw him, he was jetting off. You don't really have a timeline as to how long he's been out. And, he's just doing whatever he can to scrape by and get this information because he has his time's running out. And he knows it. He knows his time is running out and he knows something is after him. He just doesn't know when it's coming. And living in that constant state of anxiety, no, you're not going to think clearly. No, you're not going to be prepared. The moment you let your guard down, even for a fraction of a second in that moment, I mean, we could even say it in the moment in episode 2 when, the rope gets pulled out and he flies forward. That is not normal Mando. That
Didn't see him coming. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, he's
like-
exhausted at this point. Yeah. So I mean,
Like if you take it in that vein, then it makes sense why everything just kind of falls apart when he's on the boat and he's just like, fuck, I'm drowning.
yeah.
Well, it was funny though because you look at he's acting like a parent at this point
He
because
really is.
they threw baby Yoda in there, right? The child, because JC gets upset. They threw the child in the water,
So
right?
they threw baby Yodito in the water.
And he just didn't even hesitate. He just jumped right in the water to save him. And that's when they're like, close the trap, close the door. And they were over here trying to drown him so they can get the armor. But the show follows the same pattern, and that's one of the things that fans have to understand is he gets in trouble, he gets bailed out.
Oof.
All the time, and that's a pattern that keeps on happening. You need to see him at some point take an L. He needs to take an L. He keeps getting bailed out, and I understand. Yes, the Mandalorians came to his rescue, but at some time, it's the same rehash. It's the same pattern that needs to be broken because we're already going to be going into episode 4 this Friday, right? We're already almost halfway through the season.
I think he's gonna lose Baby Yoda next episode. That
Something needs to happen.
Because like I said before, we're seeing him wearing down. And people are kind of like, oh, he keeps getting bailed out. Look at his physical state. Look at the actor's physical state after every episode, and you are seeing it. You are seeing this deterioration of a man on the run. And that's not been his position. Season 1, he was the bad bitch. He was
the guy in control of everything.
He is in control, and he is going. The moment he picked up Baby Yoda, he was put in a different situation, but he was still had the upper hand. But then as soon as he sees, Mr. Big Baddie with the dark saber, that changed everything. And that, he's still recovering from that injury. You really have to think in a bigger scope of things. He's not thinking the same. He's not. There's just something wrong. And I think next episode, we really aren't going to see Ahsoka Tano. I know they're saying to go. I
got a theory about that. I got a theory about that. This is what's going to happen in my theory about this next episode.
Drop it.
He's going to be searching for Ahsoka, right?
Yeah.
But we might get a glimpse of her at the very end of the episode.
That's what I thought.
And it's going to be, tune in for next week, and you're going to be like, God damn it, man.
That's what I thought, too. Did you not? Because, especially episode 1. I'm trying to remember this again. So episode 1 of season 2, we see Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Yep.
We see Boba Fett. And that brings up a lot of, conversation as to, well, why did he, get rid of his armor? Are we going to get, Djarin? Is this a foreshadowing of what will happen to Djarin by the end of the season, where he's going to just go on a walkabout? No. Yeah, where he's going to go on a walkabout. And I felt like it was telling us something. I felt like that was the reason. Because if you just think about it just for a second, why show us that? Why show us him without his armor out in the desert? Why show us, there's just so many little things that they're showing us that it's just, I think it's leading to a really, I don't think people are going to like the way this season's going to end. That's my hot take. If you think, I think they're giving people like a semblance of like, oh yeah, you get to see, people from Star Wars Rebels and people from Star Wars Clone Wars. Do you not know what the fuck happened to them? Did you forget why they're hiding and why they're on the run and what's happening to these people? Because mind you, the First Order is coming back. Mm-hmm. We're right in that in between. You are going to lose and you will feel that pain. And I think we're going to get a like Red Wedding type of situation. Maybe not with like a full on death, but we're going to feel it and it's going to hurt.
Well, shit, at the end of that episode, the season 1, when they killed Quill, that one got me too. Because I felt that shit because I was all for Quill and he almost made it. And then they freaking got him. And I was like, shit.
Yeah, but I think
Quill and IG-88 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think this is going to be worse. I think this is going to be worse than that. And I think they're preparing us by giving us characters we like, because you just have to think, where are those people once the First Order comes into play? Where are those people? They're not, we cannot look at the past and say, oh, where are they in the future when they don't exist and think that they won? Yeah, I agree with you, Joe. I don't think they're going to show us Ahsoka Tano. If they do, I owe you all $1. But you know what? But I just
hold
don't
you
think
to it.
I mean, I'm not even. But I'm not even playing. It's very because I don't think they want to tell people who the actress is, and I don't think it's Rosario Dawson.
Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be Rosario.
I think it's got to be, yeah.
The thing with me is I want to see what kind of job she does with the character. That's the thing, is that you love this character so much, and you have these expectations built in. Look what happened with Bo-Katan in this episode. The
Yeah.
voice actress was the actor,
But
so
nobody
everything
expected
worked.
that.
Yeah,
Nobody
so you're
expected
like,
that though. And on top of that, if you look at her physically from her other shows, she doesn't look like Bo-Katan at all. Like she
Yeah.
is blonde, does not. I mean, like I said, she doesn't fit it if you just look at her straight on. Like look at her as what she's done and the other shows that she's on. She's on other shows. So if you looked at that, I would have never guessed she would
I
have
think
played Bo-Katan in
I
the
think
live series.
Katie announced it though. Katie announced it herself that she was going to play Bo-Katan, and so
But
that
I
was in the
did-
bag. And I think
I-
Rosario did the same thing though.
yeah, Rosario.
Rosario still has not said that she is. She has actually refuted statements stating that she is and that she has any type of signings with them. If you notice, she has outright said, "I haven't signed anything." When the big news came out, and they said, "Oh, Rosario Dawson," she's like, "I don't know where this shit's coming from." And even Disney said they haven't signed anyone yet. So
You're actually making me wonder. The way it happened was, I think a fan posted, "Hey Rosario, this would be awesome," and I think it was Rosario, like fan art. It was
Might
like
have been, yeah.
it was like a fan art of Ahsoka Tano, and I think somebody reposted it. I think it was can't remember who reposted it. I want to say it was either Favreau or Filoni who reposted it, saying like, "Let's make this happen," or "It's a done deal," something like that. It came from one of the two main guys that I think Rosario was going to play Ahsoka. Katie Sackhoff just came out and said it like, I can't wait to play Bo-Katan, and she announced that herself. But I think it was either Filoni or Favreau that shared a photo, either of Rosario or Rosario's comments about playing Ahsoka, and said it's a done deal.
Well, I want to see that tweet because I haven't seen it, and everyone is still wondering who it is. And if we're still wondering, then that means that no, it's not a done deal.
Mm.
I mean, if fans are still wondering who is going to play Ahsoka Tano, then that means that no, they haven't made that official. It's not official on IMDb.
I think
it's not official on credits. It's not. I mean, especially when you make something that official, usually it's an immediate pop-up on IMDb. Doesn't matter. They won't say what episode, but they'll say, "Oh, this person is playing, Ahsoka Tano on, Mandalorian." But the fact that we still don't know, for me, means either they really want to keep this in the tuck, whoever this is, because I mean, I didn't expect Sasha from WWE to be part of this at all.
She looked good too in her Mandalorian armor.
Hang on, let me cue
badass.
the music. Go ahead. So
She can suck on any squid. I mean, she could kick my butt and suck on a squid. I will stand for life. That woman's great. But I mean, that was a surprise announcement. The guy who was playing, the male counterpart, Marshall. That was a surprise announcement. And so I swear that, Katie, everybody got all excited that it was her. That's where I'm kind of like, I'm wondering where you're getting this, that she was announced prior, because
Katie announced it. Yeah.
But
Katie
when?
Sackhoff.
That's what I'm trying to remember, because I don't, like I said, if I had known that, I would have been like jumping for joy and out in the streets like Jesus came.
Some of these are also press releases, like Timothy Oliphant, we knew was going to play Cobb Vanth. We didn't know who Cobb Vanth was.
Okay,
but we knew that he was going to play Cobb Vanth. He was going to be somebody we already had seen in Clone Wars or Rebels. Katie came out and said what she was going to be. I'm treating Rosario Dawson like I treated Chimuela Morrison. We knew Morrison was coming back. He was going to be in the show, and he could have been General Captain. He could have played Captain Rex, or he could have played any one of the other clones. But I was hoping for Boba Fett, and lo and behold, we saw him playing. Well, you know what? If they flip it on us and he's not playing Boba Fett, that would be a really kick in the crotch. But we all expect that he's playing Boba Fett. Yeah.
Well,
And so
now
I'm
especially
treating Rosario like I'm treating Morrison. We know they're involved. We expect them to be said character, and we have no evidence to believe otherwise until we see it.
but this is where I say saying it's Rosario Dawson is a little too soon, because like I said, she has to be credited. If it was already announced, she would already be credited as that character. She's not. And I mean, she could be in the show as someone else. She could. I mean, that's possible. But the fact that she's not credited is where I get
Morrison wasn't credited as Fett though before that episode.
But she's saying she's not even been listed at all as credited. Like, they're not even announcing her as part of the show.
Yeah.
Which that could be a strategy on the show. They've been very, very secretive on this from the very beginning. Nobody knew what this was about. Nobody saw the child coming the very first episode, So they've kept it quiet on what a lot of these things are going to be. So
but I feel like with this season, especially because they're saying they're going to do spin-offs and they're going to do whatever. Once we saw, Boba Fett at the end of episode 1, and then they immediately follow that up with an announcement saying, "Hey, we're doing a spin-off series with this character." Okay, we're cool. It's not Rex. It's this character. And I feel like there's a lot of speculation because you're bringing in Clone Wars characters and Star Wars Rebels characters into an active show that takes place between 6
and 7.
6 and 7.
Yeah.
And that really kind of puts you in this space. And now that you have Ahsoka Tano and you're mentioning her, that's what's concerning. And that's where I say, that's the only reason I say that if she was announced already and it was confirmed online, she would already be credited on the show as that character on IMDb. She would already be credited, period. They wouldn't say what episode, but they'd say, "Oh, this person is playing Ahsoka Tano." But they haven't. And it's making me wonder why. It's making me wonder, is there a secret other person? Because there's been a few other names outside of Rosario Dawson that have been mentioned in wrestling. And I think some other girl. I mean, oh my God, I don't know why I can't remember her name, that they did another fan edit where they did her face and they said, "Oh, which one would be better?" And they did Rosario Dawson and then this other girl who's a new actress, reasonably new, but fit those facial features as well. And that's where I say I think we're gonna probably be wondering till 2 more episodes. I don't think we're gonna find out right away.
I'd like to go ahead. I was gonna say one thing. I was gonna say one of the main things that I thought happened in this episode that kind of went unnoticed, but was kind of a big thing, a big reveal for Mondo personally, was him finding out that he's part of the OG Mandalorians, the faction that broke away, because he thought there was only one way. This is the way.
Yeah.
He found out he's part of something called the Death Watch, and then he sees these other Mandalorians taking off their mask, and he's just like, "Y'all aren't real Mandalorians," and they have to explain to him, "We're 3rd generation. We grew up,
with this,
on the home world, and you're a part of this other faction that broke away." So I think it has him kind of thinking a certain way, like, there's more than one way to be a Mandalorian, So I thought that was a big moment in that episode.
I also think that we found out that he is pretty much the Jehovah's Witness of Mandos. So
pretty much.
There you go. Another thing that I like too out of this episode was watching Baby Yoda has been comic relief, or the child has been comic relief this whole season. And
it's been a liability.
Mando goes and drops him off. After he gets swallowed by this sea monster, he's like, "I don't think it's a good idea to take the kid with me everywhere I go." So he finally does the right thing and finds a babysitter. So he leaves them with the frog lady and her husband. And
which
you
is
see
a gamble in and of itself with the eggs right there.
Yes.
Throw that out there.
Right.
And then you see his face and he's like, he's looking at it like, "Now I'm going to give me some eggs." And then it hatches and he's like, "Oh," his little facial expressions. And I thought that was cute, because he is a child. He got excited because he saw something hatch out of the egg. And then the other part that I was just laughing at is at the end when he comes to pick him up. And he's playing with that little salamander child. And you knew damn well if he had a chance, he would have eaten the shit out of that thing.
I love the line right after that going, "No, we don't need a pet." And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
bro.
So good.
Oh,
Oh
man.
man.
That whole episode
Um.
was good, though. I liked where the episode went. I
Yeah.
liked that they showed Mando in peril. I liked that we got to see these other Mandalorians and Bo-Katan and her group, and they also went up against the remnants that are,
There you go.
still
Yeah.
in place.
And seeing them work together was really cool too. They all have
Yeah.
they all work as a team. I mean, whether you're, well, for the Catholics out there, whether you're Vatican I Mandalorian or Vatican II Mandalorian, which is basically what this is, So you had the ancient way and the new way of looking at things. So, but for them to do, okay, we'll worry about that stuff later. Let's just get this mission done. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, the Empire being the Empire, how are they trying to be the First Order? How are they trying to survive all this? Getting their weapons out to wherever they're hiding. I think that's a big thing. Where is the remnants of the Empire hiding? Where is their new home base that they're trying to build? So
It really makes you wonder where the show is going from here. I think there's a lot of possibilities. I also liked seeing Bo-Katan, her group, in action. Choreography on point, just as on point as it was in episode 1 when Mando's going up against those thugs around the ring. Choreography is on point this season. Keep it up. I absolutely love it. I'm wondering if this episode is now revealing a bigger plot point for the fans. Not only is Bo-Katan trying to regain power by obtaining the dark saber, but we've known many stories with many unsuspecting heroes having to take power that they did not want at some point in time. There may come either a much later season or later episode where Mando, Jin, he's going to have to either take arms with Bo-Katan and the rest of these Mandalorians to obtain that dark saber. And I wouldn't be surprised if one day we actually see Mando wielding it. I think that's something epic that the writers, Filoni, Favreau, can have in the back of their mind, that at some point this unsuspecting hero who has never wanted power or glory any point in his life may actually stumble upon it just by destiny itself. And we're seeing now this other plot that's moving along. If they keep that story in the Mandalorian series, then I think that's a future possibility. But
So are you telling me, Ted, you're getting some major Aragon vibes from, Return of the
thank
King
you,
from Mando?
thank you. That was gonna be my first example. Yes.
I definitely have a different theory to posit. Is if that is what you're thinking, then you have to think about the error in that particular storyline. You can go Aragon or you can go Jon Snow, and
Yeah.
and those are the two sides of this coin, and nobody wants Jon Snow.
Again,
And so
we don't know how John's story really ends in the book. We don't know how that story ends.
But I mean, in film, what we
Right.
see is, I mean, I'm not in film. I mean, in live action, what we see when a story like that plays out of somebody who gets power but doesn't want it, they either relinquish it to someone who does, or they become the villain that they did not mean to be.
Yeah.
And we also have to bring into play that we have to kind of look at the history of where the Mandalorians are in Star Wars Rebels. And we have to bring that into play because now we have Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels being pretty much stated as canon, with not only their addition into the live action, but because Disney has stated that their storylines now include those two properties as part of the canon for what happens after episode 3. And then I think Star Wars Rebels was a show that took place between 6 and 7, if I'm correct, as well. It was an animated show, but it took place between then.
Because it's parallel to 7, right? A little bit parallel to 7. Yeah.
Because of the fact that Ahsoka Tano appears appears in that show, and we're dealing with Vader, and there's a few other things that are going on there. It's a little weird.
Mhm.
So if we take that into account and we look at the Mandalorians and where they're at that point in the series, I tell you now, it don't look good. So I don't think so. I'm gonna be real honest. It's either they stay hidden, which I mean is the safest thing for them as an organization, or they come out of hiding, and then what happens? Because that dark saber is not something to be trifled with, and Bo-Katan is not known to live past Star Wars Rebels. So I'm just gonna say it now. She doesn't live. So you have to think like this is kind of filling in those spaces for what does happen to Bo-Katan in between, the Clone Wars time and all of this time that's passed. And can she truly fight? And can she really beat Moff Gideon? And I don't think she can.
Yeah.
I don't think she knows I don't think she even knows what she's going up against. And that's where I think we're going to see a major amount of loss this season. We're going to see, I don't think we're going to see him gain power. We're going to see him truly lose. And he will lose the child. He will lose the child by the end of the season. That is how they're going to leave us. It's going to suck. And
that's the Star Wars pattern. I called it after we talked about the premiere. I said the sequels always have the bad guys winning. It always, on one form or another,
like Empire.
the bad guys. Empire, on some level, Last Jedi. On some level, Clone Wars. The Clone War begins. The bad guys won. They planted the seeds for Anakin's turn in Clone Wars. So this is prime example. Yeah, the child's going to end up, whether it's with Boba Fett or somebody else. Mando's going to lose the child by the end of the season.
Yeah, I called it before the season started because we see a lot of scenes in the trailer with Mando and no Baby Yoda, but we see him doing a lot of sort of action scenes as well. So I think, as we've mentioned before, as Veronique is mentioning, Baby Yoda is going to be taken away, and we're going to go into a full-on rescue mission at some point in this season. I think it's bound to happen. But who's going to help him? Is he going to go back to his old friends from season 1? I think that's definitely a possibility. We haven't seen them yet.
Well, they were part of the trailer, so that's where I think like they're going to be kind of the rescue, because even in the trailer you don't see Baby Yoda. So that's where I'm thinking, we're going to get that real soon, whether it's this episode or the next one. Mm-hmm. And maybe this next one, it's a trap. And really, they know where Ahsoka Tano is too. Because you have to think, in the worlds of Star Wars, if one person knows where you are, bad guys know where you are. Somebody bad knows where you are. And I've kind of felt like that was always a thing in the Star Wars universe, where like the only person who managed to play the best game of hide and seek was Luke. And and really, like, no one knew where he was. No one. And it was hidden in a disc that was corrupted, and it took, I don't know how many years, technically, like 10, 15, 20?
He was the social distancing champion. Yeah, basically.
There you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
Like it was a long time, and he is the only one that managed to play hide and seek and win. And so had the longest streak. We didn't beat him. So I mean, the fact that Ahsoka Tano, like, Bo-Katan knows where she is. I mean, she cannot be the only one that knows where she is. And that, for me, is the concern, is that, next episode, I think he's going to think that he finds her, and he doesn't. And they could even pull something like they did in Rebels or, in Clone Wars, where, and this is a possibility, and this is why I think they're going to give us a sad ending, but not so sad that we're just super defeated because it's pandemic time.
Yeah.
We get to feel the loss that Mando feels. We get to truly sit in the L that he's taking. But then the last shot is Ahsoka Tano or Boba Fett with Baby Yoda, to where that he's safe, but we as the audience know he's safe, but Mando doesn't.
Mm.
And that would really kind of be a nice way of being like, he feels he lost. He feels he lost, and we need him to sit in that loss. We need him to realize he isn't all that powerful, and he needs to change as a Mandalorian to survive. But at the same token, he is being taken care of by someone else who managed to get him and is keeping him safe. But he's not going to get quick access to him.
That would be satisfying me as far as an ending to the second season. But as we start bringing this to a close as far as our Mandalorian talk, because this episode to me just it sets the things up for what's to come, and that's the good part about this whole thing is that you get excited of the possibilities of what's coming up next.
We actually posed a question to our followers on social media. What did you think about chapter 11? Joseph responded, well, I thought Sasha, and then I also liked how Sasha. In conclusion, I thought the episode was very Sasha. Thank you to Joseph for the comments. Top fan James Lee stated, great episode. Loved when Sasha appeared because, Sasha, and she's a badass. Another top fan.
Sasha barely said anything. Can we just say
that's her charisma? That's her
she
charisma.
saved Baby Yoda, and that's all that matters.
She made eyes with Baby Yoda while she was slurping a noodle. Switch
to my WrestleCast background now. So here we go.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Another top fan, Brock Johnson, stated, I enjoyed it. I like this show a lot. I don't procrastinate about the runtimes like too many other people do. I think he meant something else. I watch it for the enjoyment of the science fiction genre. Bravo, Brock. That's awesome, sir. And Vincent, wondering what Vincent was trying to say here. He said, were these characters supposed to be related to other characters in any way? Like, was I supposed to know, oh, that's so-and-so granddaughter? Vince, you got to watch Rebels and Clone Wars, sir, and you will get full understanding of who Bo-Katan is and how awesome she is. And then lastly, Tyrell stated, I peed a little bit when Bo appeared.
Bro, I think you need to get that checked.
And then it gets better. He says, a full puddle on the floor when Ahsoka's got name dropped.
Sure, I think
Bravo.
you need to get that checked.
Yeah.
I would like to.
Worse depends when you watch future episodes if you need to.
I know, right?
Thank you so much for your comments. Be sure to send us any more comments. Let us know what you thought about The Mandalorian Chapter 11. It was an epic one to behold. We're getting more and more of these characters from other series, and we can't wait because there's a lot more expected. I think there's also still a few more surprises. Ahsoka's not the only Jedi around in the universe at this point. There's a few others. One big one in particular. Not saying it's going to happen, but you never know, especially with Dave Filoni and a guy like Jon Favreau, who can basically do whatever he wants now. Disney's got his full back and full support. We can't wait to see what happens. Will Ahsoka show up in the next episode, or are they going to tease her for a little bit and send us on another side quest? We'll find out this Friday when the next chapter for The Mandalorian drops. Be sure to send us your comments by either hitting the send message button on Facebook, or you can always hit us up on the contact page of our website at www.countdowntothegeekcast.com.
You will also find out Friday if I owe people money.
Yes.
We're going to bring that up.
Follow me
We're
on
going to bring that up.
At Squints84 on Twitter. I'll be bragging if I find out that Ronnie owes me money.
And for the Countdown to the Geekcast, my name is Steady. With me on this episode is the man, the myth, the legend, you know him as JC.
Thanks for watching and listening. One final congrats to Mercedes Varnado, a.k.a. Sasha Banks, who tweeted a picture of herself with her name in the end credits saying, can't stop screaming, crying, and smiling, #thankful. Congrats, Sasha. Can't wait to see what you do. And good luck this coming weekend at Survivor Series. We'll be watching.
I think you forgot another congratulations, right, JC? Somebody else has something to celebrate?
Yes, we talked about on the WrestleCast. Alexa Bliss and Ryan Cabrera got engaged. Married man, but yes, I am very happy for her. She's been very happy to start dating him, but yeah.
Poor guy.
My heart breaks. But...
Poor guy.
Huh? What's up? Say again, I can hear you.
No, that was the ghost.
Okay.
We also got the man behind the magic, the one and only Joe Garcia.
I'm just laughing because JC's a little salty that Alexa Bliss's girl got engaged. That's
And Rob.
hilarious.
Man, God.
And Rob.
And there you go, man. I'm like, wow, JC. I wish him the best.
I wish him all the best.
Lucky guy.
Because the best isn't good enough, okay?
It's an upgrade from Ashley Simpson. I'll say that much for Ryan.
He's gonna be
Cabrera.
all pissed off with the mad face. I'm happy for both of them.
There you go. There you go. We also have our special guest this week.
Flow through you.
Good.
Good.
We also have our special guest this week, Veronique Medrano. Where can people find you? Give them your Twitter handle.
Hi, you guys. My name is Veronique Medrano, Tejano Icon.
Ooh.
Tejano Icon, archivist, and overall amazing artist and businesswoman. You guys can find me at Veronique, VERONIQUE 956, the number 956, all together, on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and wherever you go find gossip about your friends. So if I'm not there, you better tell me I'm not there so that I can then put my little handle on there. Otherwise, you guys can find me on there. And I have an upcoming album coming out, EP album coming out on December the 4th called La Novela.
Awesome.
So you guys will take a listen to that when it comes out.
And you also have a book. You have a book, a Selena book.
Actually, that was not mine. That is actually a friend of mine's. So
Okay.
there is I do reviews on my website. There was a recent book by a friend of mine from Flower Song Press called Dreaming, a tribute to Selena. But I do personally have a book as part of my publishing company, Puro Party Publishing, which is called Papito and the Squeeze Box. It is about a young Mexican-American little boy's journey in finding his identity through the power of Tejano music. You guys can pick that up. The author is Teresa Morales. I am the publisher and editor for the book. And that was just so much fun to do. And I hopefully, by next year, will be coming out with my own authored book. So please stay tuned for that. But yes, you guys, thank you so much for having me. Chat on all things geeky and forgetting people's names because I have ADD.
JC, I think you got one more thing to say, don't you?
Yes, get ready for the Animaniacs coming back this Friday.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Yay!
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Have a good night, folks. We'll see you next week.
Hey guys, AJ and Ivan here. For more Geekcast episodes, subscribe to us on your podcast app and please write us a review. Be sure to like us at Facebook at facebook.com/CountdownCityGeekcast. Follow us on Twitter at CCG_podcast or visit our website at www.countdowncitygeekcast.com. See you later, guys.